Starting on your back. Come to a comfortable position with your feet on the floor, your legs hip distance apart, and maybe the arms are out wide. You might like to support the head or the neck with a blanket. Start by just taking a few breaths here. And then you might like to start limbering, flexing the feet, and then pointing the toes. And take as many rounds of this as feels right for you. And maybe you like to bring the hands onto the stomach, just feel the rise and fall of the breath. This is a gentle practice suitable for those times when you just don't feel like you want to do anything too energetic, but you still want to move. And you can change the position of the hands if you like. Take them onto the upper belly, onto the ribs, noticing any outwards movement as you expand the rib cage with your breath. And maybe dropping the arms out wide. Just taking some time here to notice how you feel in this moment. And the breaths here are deep. You might like to now bring the arms up above the body, stretching them out, lifting the shoulder blades off. Finding that length in the arms. Take a few rounds of this. And then a nice moment to stretch into the neck and the head, interlacing the fingers, bring the hands behind the head. And here, if you like, you can take an exercise to work with the vagus nerve where you keep your head in one place, but you take the gaze to one direction and then the other, and you release it. Once you feel something, it doesn't have to be anything in particular. It might be a relaxation in the eyes, the mouth, the body, a breath, something just easing. And here, working with those optical nerves, we hold so much tension around this area. When you're ready, releasing the arms down, bring the gaze back to center, and then taking a twist. So taking one leg over the other and dropping down in one direction, perhaps holding. You could even pause things here and hold it for as many minutes as you like. This gets really into your vertebrae and of the back, the lower back. Just starting to work with the spine to find a little bit of mobility. Especially if this is the first one you've done today, you might really feel that release. And then untangling the legs, taking that on the opposite side. Keep the head either neutral or opposite, and if anything's getting in the way, you can either just acknowledge it, or you could reach and move it out of the way. Again, taking as long as you would like here. Coming back to the center, feet on the floor, and lifting the arms up overhead and back, just waving them like waves on the shore, coming in and out. Again, just working on that shoulder mobility and on the wrist mobility there. Perhaps holding above the head and moving the hands from side to side. If you imagine you're on all fours and you were moving the wrists and the hands, same thing here. So flexing the wrists and then pressing the arms up to the sky. It's almost as if you were doing a plank, but the sky is your floor. And we're just looking to work into the shoulders and the upper back. And then from here, you might like to just take a couple of windscreen wipers with your legs, knees one way, back to the centre, and then the other way. Again, all in your own pace, your own rhythm. From here, coming into a supported bridge. So bringing a block or a brick underneath the lower back, the sacral area. And by doing this, you're supporting the lower back and you're not having to lift your own hips up. So that supported bridge, again, you can take for as long as you like. And if you'd like to take your feet up into the air, that's great. This does increase the pressure on the lower back, so just watch what's going on here. And here I often quite like to take my legs wide. This may not be for you, so just keep them up in the air or back down in the supported bridge if not. You can also do this up against the wall where there's a big support there for your legs. So again, here, hip mobilising. And then working into the lower back, the muscles there are going to really be released by what you're doing. And in your own time, coming back down to the earth. You can take some deeper twists here. So these are like windscreen wipers, but your knees are up in the air. And you can go all the way down quite deeply. Try and keep the upper back on the earth. And then coming back down. Making your way to seated. Find a comfortable seated position. This is going to be individual to each of us. And then take some neck stretches. So taking the hand onto the side of the head, bringing the cheek down towards the shoulder. And you can do that without the hand there as well. Just circling the head slowly. Come back to seated. Open the arms out wide, imagining that you're drawing the shoulder blades together, and then give yourself a big hug. You can round the spine here as well if you like. And this is just a really great way to open your practice, to start that movement. And then I might like to take some hip circles here. So I can do that from a seated position, I can do that from lots of positions. I'm just going to move gently, and perhaps I'd like to have the breath working with the movement. So inhale to go forward, exhale to go back, or vice versa. You can take that in one direction and then reverse it. Coming back to seated, bring the fingertips down to the earth and lengthen the spine, imagining that something's drawing you up towards the ceiling. In the meantime, your bottom's sinking down, so you've got a lovely long spine. And then we'll come into a seated twist. So opening one arm out, crossing it over to the opposite knee, taking the other hand out behind you. That could go out diagonally, it could go to hold some cloth on the back, and the gaze goes with it. You're going to take that in both directions. When you're sitting here, sink the sit bones down again, finding length in the spine, and perhaps with each inhale, you lengthen and expand, and then with each exhale, you find a little more rotation. Coming now into a side stretch, so bringing one hand down, taking the other arm up or onto the heart if that doesn't feel comfortable. Lengthen through the side body, and then swooping out around the front. And taking it on the other side, making sure the sit bones still feel equal here. Dropping one hand down, taking the other arm up over the head or onto the heart. Finding that side stretch. Swooping out, coming back to seated. From here, taking the arms up to shoulder height and taking some rotations. So moving from the shoulder here rather than from the hands. So finding that movement and connection all the way along this plane of the body. In one direction and the other. You can do this for as long as you like. You might well start to feel it as you start to take the arms back. You might like to now take the arms out and just give a really broad swooping motion, reverse of what you did earlier. Coming into a wide-legged posture now, taking the legs as wide as is comfortable. And we're going to stir the pot. So flexing the feet, taking the arms out in front of you, interlacing the hands, and imagining that you're perhaps stirring a witch's brew. And again, one direction and then the other. Keeping the body secure on the earth. Of course, feel free to sit on something if that would feel better for you, and make sure the knees aren't hyperextending. And from here you can move into your Upavishta Konasana, your forward fold. Now your hands can go anywhere that feels good, but as you fold forwards, try and keep a long spine, so moving from the pelvis. You could hold the toes if that feels comfortable. You could hold the calves or hands on the floor. And then from here, you don't have to move too far to find an open twist. So keep one leg where it is, bring the other in so that the foot is a few inches away from the other leg. And then you're going to slowly bring the hands to meet, and like a bow and arrow, draw one elbow back and opening out, taking the gaze with you if that feels comfortable. And then coming from there onto the other side. But before you come to the other side, let's take our Baddha Konasana, our bound angle posture. So soles of the feet together. Then in your own time, you'll find your way onto your other side for that open twist. So again, taking it. Really slowly with awareness. From here, bringing the feet out in front of you, flexing the feet. You might like to bring some bricks underneath the hands here to bring the mat to you if that's something that feels good. And here we are in Dandasana, staff posture. So take the gaze out beyond the toes. Imagine energy flying out of the roof of the head, the toes. You're going to bring the legs back in, releasing, and come into what some of us call a rocking mermaid, also known as hurdler. So from a cross-leg position, you're going to find one leg out behind, imagining that you look like someone who's about to jump over a hurdle. You might like to support underneath the bottom to keep you balanced. You might like to hold the knees. If this posture isn't comfortable for you, you can stretch out that back leg, sticking with that very similar look to your open twist. And then from here, you might like to sit still to start, really settling into that posture. Start to rock back and forward. So just finding some mobility in the hips here. And then you can transition back through Baddha Konasana or any other way that feels good onto the other side, noticing any differences between the two. Using the breath here to sustain your practice. Inhale and exhale, and just relax the face if you notice it's tensing, and find those rocking movements if that feels good. In your own time, you're going to remove any block you had underneath and come back to seated. Slowly then find your way onto all fours in a way that works for you. And then having warmed up the muscles, having mobilised the hips, you're going to make your way into a pigeon. Now this is going to look different for everyone. And if you prefer, and if it doesn't feel good to do it on the front, you can always do it on the back. So I like to come into it either from a downward dog or from all fours, and I bring my leg across. You might like to find different ways to get into it. The leg is crossing the body, probably at 45 degrees. If you're hypermobile, you might notice it crosses at 90 degrees, and that's fine so long as you're engaged and you're feeling secure. So make sure you're not just feeling like you're flopping, but you're actually feeling really safe. And then if you'd like an extra challenge, you can bring one elbow to the floor and take your hands to meet and twist in that direction, so away from the bent leg. And then from here you can roll out, take a moment to do whatever feels right, and then finding the other side. Always good to adjust as much as you like in a posture. You can bring forearms to the floor if you like. You can stay up quite high. You might notice you feel like you're lopsided, so bring a block underneath the buttock that feels like it's coming off. Coming out of your pigeon, when you're ready, back to all fours. Take time here to do whatever suits you. You might like to tuck the toes and rock back and forward. Untuck the toes, rock back and forward. Noticing how everything feels. Playing around with movement, tucking and untucking, rocking, and stillness. Bringing the bottom back towards the heels and then back up to neutral. And then from here, coming into a child. So if you're like me and you find getting the bottom to the heels hard, you might like to bring your forearms to the floor, rounding the spine. You might notice I'm pretty vertical in this posture, and that is just bodies, and that's fine. In your own time, you'll come back now to lie down. And we'll end the practice here, returning to what we started with, working into the ankles, the toes, breathing restfully, taking time to just find the body, find the breath again. And feel free to take as long a Shavasana as you like here. It's your body, your practice. You make the choices. Thank you, and well done.